The golf world is very much aware of what Ian Poulter has been up to the last few days, and the normally circumspect Golfers magazine has got a very racy, rather more familiar of the typical of the men's magazines around the place, wearing only a golf bag, and always been a bit of a fashion icon. And there's the title, so we would expect to see that in one or two different sorts of magazines. And it also was accompanied with one or two phrases that have raised a few eyebrows here, and not a few hackles as well. Ian Poulter, the trouble is I just don't rate anyone else, referring to Tiger. And now, don't get me wrong, I really respect everyone who's a professional golfer, but the problem is I know I haven't played to my full potential yet, and when that happens it will be just me and Tiger.
The ever shy and retiring Poulter has been showing off the Emperor's new clothes in the golfing press and causing a bit of a stir in the editorial. The trouble is I don't rate anyone else. Now, don't get me wrong, I really respect everyone who is a professional golfer, but the problem is I know I haven't played to my full potential yet, and when that happens it will be just me and Tiger. Understandably, he certainly felt he had to put the record straight, and this is what he had to say.
Obviously the quotes you've made in the Golf World magazine have caused quite a stir. You quoted as saying that when you reach your potential it's you and Tiger.
That is actually a misquote, which I would like to clear up very quickly. The question was asked, where do I see myself and could I actually get to #1 in the world? My answer to that question was, well, as long as Tiger Woods is playing golf, I can't get to #1 in the world, and nor can many other players. And quite frankly, if I do fulfil my potential, I do believe the gap between me and second is achievable. So therefore, I do have a chance of getting second in the world if I work hard and fulfil my potential. So therefore, the comment was, you know, it would be a dream one day to sit back and have a look at the world rankings and see it say Tiger Woods and then me. Well, if you shorten that phrase down, Tiger Woods and then me, you get what you've got in the paper today or the magazine. And I think it's very harsh when, you know, you quite honestly answer a simple question, honestly, respectfully to other golfers, and it gets misquoted, it gets taken out of context, and you're left with a very frustrating situation this morning by being called many things in the newspaper, and it's very difficult to actually go out on the golf course and play golf when, you know, stuff like that has been taken out of context. It's very frustrating, but, you know, I'm a big boy, I can take it, you know. It's a shame for, you know, it's a shame for it to happen that way, but, you know, I answered a very normal question, which I felt I answered respectfully, and unfortunately it's got shortened down, and therefore when it's been shortened it looks disrespectful, but that totally wasn't the case, and it's a great shame. So, you know, if people do that, and, you know, the press do want to do that, then, you know, you're left in an unfortunate situation with egg on your face, and I think that's very sad when, you know, it was answered respectfully and honestly.
What about the rest of the quote? You were quoted as saying you didn't rate anyone else, and although you respected them, you didn't rate them. That's really riled people, isn't it? Well,
yeah, it has, because that also was answered in not just a few words, it was answered in probably a minute's quote, in to say that Tiger Woods is so far in front of everybody else. You know, to look at everyone else, you have to look at Tiger Woods. If you want to achieve more in golf, and if you want to play better in golf, you look at one person, and he is so far in front, he is so good. You know, you look back at everybody else, and it's not disrespectful to turn around and say, you know, you don't rate anyone else. I look at Tiger Woods as #1 in the world, and I want to get as close as I possibly can. As long as he's playing golf, I'm not going to get to #1, so #2 is the spot. It's not, you know, what I said wasn't obviously meant the way it was to say I don't rate anybody else. You know, there's world-class golfers everywhere, and I play against them week in, week out. Again, that's been taken slightly the wrong way, and it's been put on paper in a shortened version of how I explained it. So again, you know, very, very, very frustrating. What more can I say? It's you know, it's a quote unquote, and it hasn't come out how I explained it in the first place, which, you know, it's very unfortunate sometimes when you let people in your house for 3 hours and you do a nice private interview, and, you know, this is what happens. It's very unfortunate.
Thanks for clearing it up for us.
No, my pleasure. I'm only too happy to, you know, clear it all up.
Exactly, and defend yourself, Ian, and that's exactly what happened to Paul Casey. His quotes a few years ago were in the middle of a 2-hour interview and yet one quote came out, and sometimes it's not quite the truth. As I said earlier, the written word is sometimes not the same as the spoken word.
It's as clear as mud at the moment. Mark, Ian Poulter, the sort of character he is, he's loud, he's brash, he's full of confidence, he says a lot of stuff. You know, for me personally, at the end of the day, I think it's quite colourful. It doesn't offend me. How about yourself?
Well, it is colourful, and he's brought an awful lot to the European game. He's taken golf from the back pages to the front pages on many an occasion. Once again, he's done it here. This is a more unfortunate circumstance. I spoke to Ian just half an hour before we came on air. I've been friends with him for a long time, and he's absolutely gutted about the situation at the moment, more because of the reaction of his fellow pros and how he feels they may think about the comments he's made, because the one thing that he does have is huge respect for all the golfers around him, for his fellow professionals. He brims with confidence. Sometimes he can overstep the mark a little bit in terms of, I remember last year, I think he said he was going to win 6 tournaments and a major. That's the confidence. Deep down, he believes if he has a good run, he can be another Westwood and win that many tournaments. But in this case, in this particular article, in a 10-page article that he did for Golf World, which, you know, Ian is the master of self-publicity, you know, appearing naked with your golf bag on the front cover is great self-promotion, and he likes everybody, he likes to be seen, and he likes to be seen in a different way.
No tattoos?
But no tattoos, no. You're right, I didn't spot one. Yep. But this quote in the middle of the article was from nearly 2 years ago, at the Bay Hill Classic, when he was approached by another Golf World journalist, not the one that did this article, who was actually bothering him while he was putting on the putting green, asking him a load of questions. And I think Ian's response to him was, you know, well, basically, you know, you can put down what you want because you're going to do that anyway. And it does stem all the way back to Bay Hill and the putting green. So there's two sort of contrived articles in one here. The 10-page article, it is a great article, and then you've got this one little snippet that everybody's focused on that was actually from a long time ago. But I can tell you, sat in his hotel room out there in Dubai, he is really stewing about it, but he's stewing because he doesn't want to upset anybody. The last thing he wants is to upset anybody.
And this one's interesting. It's from the editor of Golf World, who says, tonight I was asked for a comment from the Associated Press about our interview with Ian Poulter in the March issue. This is what we supplied. Chris Jones, the editor of Golf World magazine, said, Ian's manager is happy with the interview as it appeared in the March issue of Golf World magazine, where Ian's comments can be seen in the full context they were intended. People should read the full interview rather than the juicy sound bites picked up by the British newspapers.
And I have to say, in reply to the email there from the Golf World boys, you know, you've got a 10-page article there. You don't have to print the juicy soundbite from 2 years ago at Bay Hill. You can leave that alone. But they clearly had an agenda in printing that.
They did say in the article, though, that that's where it came from.
Absolutely.
They did point it out.
Yeah, they pointed that out. But that's been on hold. As Poulter said to me earlier, you know, this quote, or supposed quote, because he has no way of confirming it yes or no, because it was just a brief conversation on the putting green of 2 years ago. That's been on hold a long time. Why didn't they use it at the time if they thought it was so controversial?
What's today's news is tomorrow's fish and chips, and that'll be the story with this one, that is for sure.
It's the most ideal start, isn't it? To go, you know, 2 for 2, it's a pretty good start.
The gap between you and Phil Mickelson at world number 2 is wider than the gap between number 2 and number 1,000 in the world. What's your main attribute, would you say, that makes you so dominant?
Well, I thought Poulter was number 2 in the world.